Welcome to this new moon update. We have a pretty cool week ahead of us. There is a beautiful new moon in the sign of Cancer at 14 degrees on Friday, on the 5th of July. And then today, actually, Neptune stations to go retrograde. So there's kind of a lot going on this week energetically. We just entered the month of July, and that in itself is a huge shift and a huge change. The month of July, the frequency of this month and the energetic lineup of this month is definitely going to bring a lot of new beginnings and changes. And so let's get into all the details about that. So the very first thing I want to start off with is to remind you to really, really allow and trust your intuition over your logic this week, particularly. This new moon is asking us to start really tuning into the intuition and steering away from the logical mind and what the logical mind and the fears, the programming that's still in there, wherever that is taking you, which is probably not necessarily a good place. To steer clear of that and to trust the intuition. This is about really attuning to your knowing. So that deep knowing that you have, that you feel within your core, it's about trusting that and tuning into that knowing and allowing that to guide your actions, any steps forward that you want to take at this time, and to really switch on your sensory acuity. So pay attention, put your little feelers out there and just pay attention to what you're picking up on. What is feeling resonant for you? What feels like is the right path or the right thing to do? Trusting that and moving in that direction is going to be very, very helpful. This week in particular, there's this initiation that is associated with it. And there's a lot of like the old dying Neptune retrograde, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But Neptune retrograde this week is definitely the collapsing of the old. It is the collapsing of illusion, delusion. So it's going to really give us that reality check. I've been talking about the theme of reality checks for the last couple of months now. That's going to continue to play out for like the rest of this year. So I think we should just kind of normalize it and get used to the reality checks coming in for us constantly, because they're going to continue showing us, what is real, what is truth, and what is not, what is illusion, what is delusion, where have you deceived yourself, where have you lied to yourself, where have you not trusted your knowing, not trusted your intuition about something. It's about really tapping into that and getting super honest with yourself about that. And then it's in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is water sign, emotions, right? There is just so much watery energy here, like water world energy here, that we're literally submerged in at this time. And this watery energy is cleansing us, it is purifying us, it is washing away those old parts, those outworn systems and ways of thinking, beliefs, right? It's such a huge impact on the belief system. So there's so much that is being washed away and cleansed at this time that, it's going to feel probably pretty exhausting for a lot of people. I know for myself, there are definitely certain days where I just feel so tired, and it's because my body has to continually catch up to the spiritual processing that I'm moving through and the mental and emotional processing that I'm moving through. And this is affecting every single one of us. So on some days you might feel super tired and super exhausted because of the immense amount of processing that you have to go through right now. All these like realizations and wake up calls and, reality checks are, it's just like bombarding, right? It's like one after another. And you're just like, holy shit, right? Trying to keep up with all of it. And your body has to ground all of this energy in, right? It has to be able to anchor in this new information, and it's anchoring in the new you, because that's what essentially all this watery energy is doing. It is washing away the old, the dirty, the worn out, so that this new, fresh version of yourself can emerge. And if you're feeling this right now within yourself, like, man, I don't resonate with any of the old stuff I used to. I don't resonate with the foods I used to eat. I don't resonate with the people I used to hang out with, or like certain family members, or certain situations, like Like, there's just no way I'm going to revisit certain things, right? If you're feeling all of this within yourself, then know that this is your rebirth. You are essentially moving through this massive rebirth. Old parts of yourself are completely breaking away. They're cracked. They're so worn out at this point that they're falling off of you. Okay, those hardened shells is how I'm being shown right now. It's these hard shells that we have built around ourselves for safety, for security, so that we feel, safe enough in this crazy world and protected. And so all of that crumbling away is tiresome, is most definitely, a lot of restructuring energetically. So it's like your chakras, all of your energy centers, your mind, your spirit, there's this massive cohesion, this completion. I'm seeing it as coming together. And for all of these parts to integrate and to like interlock and fit back in with each other, the body has to go through a tremendous amount of recalibration, and that recalibration is tiring. So the very first thing I want to mention here is to be very, very gentle with yourself, especially when you're moving through chaos, especially when it's like, you are this anchor point in the eye of the storm, right? Because that's what it feels like when our old life, when our old world is falling apart. We become these anchors, and we need to, this is why grounding is so important, and doing certain practices and getting out in nature is so important, so that you can anchor in your own energy and plant it deep into the earth, just like trees, right? And push those roots deeply, so that no matter what the storm is doing on the surface, you can remain calm, you can remain peaceful, you can remain compassionate and kind and loving towards yourself, and understanding, knowing that, this storm will pass. This too shall pass. And all I need to do is keep myself safe and secure here within myself, within the present moment. And if I do that, then I will feel good. I will feel like, I will be able to handle this. And this is where I would suggest using breathing techniques. Breathing is incredible. It is such a powerful tool. When you use your breath to move energy within your body, you are able to exhale out and release stuck energy. You're able to actually release old parts of yourself if that's what you choose to focus on your exhale. And you can inhale the new me. I am new. I am fresh. This is my new beginning. Right? And so you can use breath that way. And there's a really, really awesome quote by Russ Harris that I wanted to share, because I just think it's such a profoundly accurate quote for the times that we're currently experiencing. So slow breathing is like an anchor in the midst of an emotional storm. The anchor won't make the storm go away, but it will hold you steady until it passes. So use breathing right now if you're going through difficult times, if you're experiencing a bit of a struggle while you're shedding these old parts of yourself and releasing these old parts of yourself and allowing them to die. There is also even a mourning process. I'm just reminded, Spirit's reminding me of the mourning process that we go through when old parts of ourselves die, and that we need to honor that mourning process. So allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to release, allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling, those intense emotions. And if they want to show up in the form of tears, allow them to show up that way, and have great compassion for yourself in that process, because that is you fully acknowledging that an old part of you is dying, and that you are releasing it, and that it's a little bit scary, that it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit unknown. It's like you feel like a part of you, is gone. But at the same time, that part of you that is gone is just simply the part of you that needs to go at this time. And those are usually the parts of us that are in fear, the parts of us that have been stuck or that have been in stagnation for a really long time. So it's important to allow these parts of us to go, and also honoring the exit process, right? So as I mentioned, Neptune turns retrograde today as of this moment that I am recording this video, which is July the 2nd, and it will stay retrograde until December the 7th on the master 29 degree of Pisces, which again is a big deal because this is the omega point. The omega point is the very last degree of the very last zodiac sign in the entire zodiac wheel. That's what we call the omega point. And that omega point is your fresh start. It's like that brand new beginning. And that brand new beginning always holds the seeds of endless possibilities. So this is a time, an opportunity for us to completely reinvent ourselves, for us to completely choose who we want to become, how we want to embody these new parts of ourselves, and what does that look like for you? You know, how do you want to be better is ultimately the question. Do you want to be better with your self-care? Do you want to be better with how you love yourself, how you love others? Do you want to be better with your work? Have more dedication, less procrastination? You know, what are some things that you want to get done, that you want to clear off your plate, that you want to wrap up? What kind of unfinished business do you need to take care of at this time that is urging you, that is pulling you, that is directing you to come complete this? Because you will feel better, because you will feel relief. It's the same thing as when you have a checklist, right, of things to do. Every single check mark you put beside something you have taken care of instantly makes you feel good. It instantly puts you in this like proud moment, right? Where you're proud of yourself. And you should be, because that means that you have taken some form of action that you needed to take to make sure that that thing was completed. This is no different. Look at your life, zoom out, look at your life, and take a look at all of the things that you currently see on your plate. I was actually spending some time on the weekend and writing a list in my journal of all of the things that have been bothering me at the back of my mind, all the things that have been just kind of sitting there and like, you know, popping up every so often, like, oh, hey, yeah, you know, this thing, you haven't taken care of that yet. Oh, yeah, you still haven't taken care of this. Like those little things that pop up in your mind, write a list of them. What is that recurring thought that keeps coming up for you that you feel you need to take care of, that you just kind of want to empty out, that you don't want to keep listening to, you know, repeating in your mind, because it's going to keep going until you take care of it, until you do something about it, right? So I wrote a list out for myself. Certain people I need to talk to, some conversations I need to have with some individuals, and like different pieces or aspects of like a project that I need to do, or some stuff around the house that I need to do that has been, you know, sort of weighing on me in a way, because like I knew and I've known and I've desired to like get it done for quite some time, but I've just sort of been ignoring it or pushing it off to the side. So it's like, what are those things that you need to clear out at this time? This new moon is asking you, can you begin this new cycle with a fresh perspective, unloaded, right? With less burden, less heaviness, with less stuff weighing on your mind. And because it's in the sign of Cancer, it's particularly talking about our emotions. Where do you need to unburden yourself when it comes to your emotions? It's like, what do you need to do? What action can you take at this time? Who do you need to speak to or apologize to, or just call back? Or, you know, it could be simple stuff too. It doesn't have to be anything heavy. It could be something as simple as returning a phone call, or returning a text message, or returning an email, right? Like getting back to somebody about something. So it doesn't have to be anything major, but just like, what are those little things that are constantly popping up in the back of your head saying, not complete, you haven't done this yet, you haven't dealt with this yet, right? So think about that. Now, Neptune, let's remember here, is ending a massive 165-year cycle. Neptune takes 14 years to move through each sign. It has been in the sign of Pisces for the last 14 years. It's wrapping it up. And over the next 2 years, it will be moving back and forth over this sensitive degree. So it's going to start dipping into Aries as it moves out of Pisces in 2025. Because right now it's retrograding, right? So it's going to like linger here at this 29-degree point in Pisces for a little bit, because of course this has some lessons to teach us. So it's going to cross the 0 point, Aries, right? So like 0 degrees of Aries, which is like, oh my God, the brand new very first step for Neptune in a new sign. As a matter of fact, restarting the entire zodiac wheel. also forming a rare conjunction with Saturn. Saturn is the lord of time and karma, right? Saturn is definitely the karma boat. So the energy of Saturn is what makes sure that karmic debts are paid. Saturn collects, is the karmic debt collector. So Saturn always makes sure that people that deserve good karma receive that good karma, and then that the people that deserve, I don't necessarily want to call it negative karma, but like sort of consequences, right, of their past choices and actions, to also be paid. Comes full circle. Saturn always collects, always. So not only will Neptune be meeting up with Saturn, it's also going to be forming a power triangle with Pluto and Uranus. So those are some kind of heavy hitters. Pluto, death and rebirth. So there's just like so much of the old that is being shifted out of our lives and making space for the new. This is a great cycle, like a big cycle that is ending in a global karmic release of outworn standards, values, institutions as the defining spirit or mood, ideas, and beliefs of the last couple centuries dissolves to reform into a new template. So this is truly a brand new beginning for the collective. And it's a brand new beginning when it comes to our standards, our values, our institutions. So, how we do things, how we have been doing things is going to really be looked at, dismantled at this time now, because it is worn out, because it does need to be reformed. We need fresh ideas. We need new, it's like a system update. Okay. That's literally what's taking place, is a massive system update. Okay. And so all of the old programming essentially is now being replaced with new programming. So on July 5th, this new moon is also going to be conjuncting Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky at this time, and squaring the karmic nodes of fate. So Sirius gives honor, renown, wealth, faithfulness, devotion, passion, and resentment. So essentially, this means that this new moon, this new beginning, gives us power as it's coupled with Sirius, this beautiful bright star in the sky. It is shining a light onto faithfulness, onto devotion, passion. It is also shining a light onto resentment. So if there are any resentments that you carry within yourself towards anyone, then this new moon is asking you to really take a look at that and ask yourself why you are resenting that individual who has hurt you in the past, perhaps, or has done you dirty. Can you forgive them? Can you just recognize, even if you can't forgive them in this moment because you're not there yet, but can you just recognize that they acted based on their level of consciousness, and that we're all humans, we're all doing the best that we can, and people make mistakes, and we all make a lot of mistakes, but those mistakes are truly lessons. They're meant to teach us. They're bad experiences, and I hate calling it bad experiences because everything is like a learning exercise, right? But like difficult experiences or challenges are always meant to teach us something profound about ourselves. It's about either how we are reacting to that situation or how we are responding to that situation, right? So usually difficulties are something that gives us an opportunity to see where we're at on our spiritual journey. And so resentment is really a waste of time. And I can totally get how people can feel resentful. I have felt resentful many times towards many different people that have wronged me or hurt me in the past. But it was something that I had to move through. It was like this understanding that I had to move through, that people, like, you can't take stuff personally. And this new moon is actually also about that. It's about not taking things personally. So Sirius is sort of shining a light on your resentments, but it's also shining a light on honor, on renown, on wealth, on faithfulness, devotion, and passion. So it's asking you to embrace more passion, more devotion in your life. Be open to receiving that from others. If you have received a lot of, like I said, challenging experiences from other people, then this is the time to really open yourself, to get into that receptive mode and open yourself up to receiving the kind of passion, devotion, faithfulness that you have desired to have and experience in your life. Every year during the first week of July, a transmission is activated between Earth and the star Sirius. So there's this transmission, this activation that takes place where Sirius sends us certain light codes because it comes closer to Earth, right? And so there is this transmission of light. There's this illumination that it provides for us. And again, when you are tapped into the cosmos, when you are and you don't even have to be like super consciously tapped in, but it's more just like this openness of like, I allow the universe to guide me kind of thing. And when you have that attitude or that mentality, you are already tapped into the cosmos, right? Just having that thought taps you in immediately. So allow Sirius right now to guide you towards that devotion, that passion, and to release any resentments that are holding you back from just having a good experience, right? From feeling light. Resentment always is heavy. It is this unforgiving energy, right? And it's time now to step out of that. Resentment is so like the old parts of ourselves, right? That is now crumbling and dying and needs to fall away. Will you allow it to fall away? Essentially, this new moon is putting us at a radical crossroads, a radical karmic crossroads. And I'm finding that what we are all afraid of entering at this time is this vast unknown, this new world, this new beginning, this new chapter, this new life. You know, so many of us are afraid to fully step into that. And we are kind of in a void period right now too, where we're sort of in the in-between, where it's like all old parts of ourselves haven't maybe fully died and fallen away yet. So it's like you're not really the old self anymore, but you're not quite the new self yet because you have yet to create the new version of yourself. So this void period can be very tiring actually. It can be because it's limbo, right? You feel like you're in limbo. And so it can feel really draining. What I'm finding is like old versions of myself are like tugging at me where it's like, no, don't let me go. And old ways of being are and have been tugging at me where it's almost like the old version of myself is like kicking and screaming because it doesn't want to go, right? So it's like certain aspects of my ego is like kicking and screaming because it doesn't want to go. So it's like you may still feel this tug of war kind of within yourself where it's like the old version of you wants to pull you back, but the new version is kind of like, no, this way, like let's go this way, right? And so that in itself can feel super tiring. And this is why I'm saying like grace, guys, so much grace and love and compassion and kindness towards yourself right now. You have to be your own best friend during these times because it's challenging. It is not easy to stay grounded, to stay centered within that chaos that you feel within yourself. And that chaos is perfectly normal, of course. Like the old parts of you are dying and the new is like becoming, it is like reborn, right? And speaking of becoming, like my program Becoming 2.0 is exactly this transitionary process. It's like this is what I'm teaching you how to do, how to move through this transition of this old version of yourself to become this newer version, brighter, more confident, more self-worth, self-love, self-value kind of version of yourself who is not afraid to go after the things that you desire in life, who is not afraid to step up to become that leader that you know is within yourself. So if you're interested in that program, check it out. The link is in the description for that. But Spirit is really waiting for us here, okay? It's waiting for us until all of your personal traumas are exhausted. And this is that time where Spirit, as graceful Spirit is and is always patient with us, is actually still through that patience is kind of also pushing us in a way like, come on, like you got this and you can do this. So this is about recognizing that you have to work through your personal dramas. You got to work through your shit in order to come out on the other side. If you want to become this bigger, better leader version of yourself, someone who is not afraid to go after their goals, someone who is not afraid to go after the things that they truly desire and the things that they feel that is in alignment with them, that is the fuel, the power that you're being kind of pushed towards by Spirit. So it's like Spirit is like, come on, like wrap up your shit. What personal dramas are you still perpetuating that don't need to be there, that are, that are wasting your time, that are wasting your energy? So it's like, can you tie up those loose ends? Can you release them if there is no possibility for closure or, any kind of thing like that? Then can you just provide that closure for yourself and say, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm ready for a new experience. I'm done with this. So that is the process that we are being guided towards at this time in a very deeply powerful way. And Spirit is also asking you, can you put in a little bit more than just like mundane effort here? Like can you really apply yourself and put yourself there and put more effort into resolving your situation so that you don't keep spinning in uncomfortable circumstances that you really actually have outgrown at this point, that you don't need to continue spinning in because you have grown enough. So many times it's about actually acknowledging your own personal growth. And until you acknowledge how much you have grown and how much better you have become as a person, as a soul, until you acknowledge that, you're going to kind of continue spinning. It's like sometimes we think we're still our old selves, but we're not. We're like this brand new version of ourselves, but because we identify and we create these identities within ourselves, we can very much identify with the old parts of ourselves because it's familiar. So just don't fall into that trap right now. Make sure that you recognize that I'm not my old self anymore. I'm not the person I used to be. I'm someone completely different. And I need to honor that and I need to acknowledge that so that I can actually fully step into that version of myself. Create a new identity for yourself. And what does that look like? What does that feel like to be this new identity, this new version of yourself? It's like, can you stop being trivial? And the solution to this pretty drastic polarization, that is within all of us, each and every single one of us, is requiring drastic self-loss. This is about a willingness to release your old identity in order to step into the new, which oftentimes requires us to move through, various trials and errors in order to become whole again, in order to become recognized as whole again within ourselves. Because it is only you that has to recognize that you are whole within you. Nobody from the outside needs to validate that or recognize it even. Only you. So this new moon may have you feeling like your karma has split you down the middle and left you there to work it out for yourself, which it kind of has. That's exactly what this new moon is doing. It is sort of leaving all of us with our karma and saying, here you go. You got to sort this out. But the beauty of it is that the universe never truly leaves us alone. We're never, ever alone. You have guides, remember that. You have your higher self, remember that. And that is your main guide, your higher self, the version of yourself that already knows your future, that already knows every single lesson that you came here to learn, that you signed up for, that you discussed with your angels and guides before you came to Earth. Your higher self already has the blueprint. Your higher self is the blueprint, is the guide, moving you forward, constantly showing you the way, giving you those intuitive hits. Nope, don't do that. Nope, don't go there. Nope, don't talk to that person, right? That's your intuition constantly. Your intuition and your higher self are essentially one and the same. Your intuition is how your higher self communicates with you. And this is why I said, with this new moon, the very first thing I started this video with is make sure that you are really hearing your intuition over your logic this week and during this time. I would say for the rest of this year, and just kind of always make sure that you are tapping in, make sure that you are listening, make sure that you are taking time to hear your intuition. And the only way that you can hear your intuition is through silencing your mind. You can't completely shut the mind off. You can't completely silence the mind. But the way that you can silence the mind, even briefly and temporarily, is through breath work. Breath work. Do you know that when you are focusing on inhaling, your brain is incapable of thinking of anything else? And this is why breath work is so powerful. And I've been using it so frequently because it absolutely removes all distraction. It literally shuts the stream of thoughts off within my head when I am focusing on my breathing. Do you see all these amazing tools that we have built in, that Spirit has built into this beautiful avatar, into our systems that we have access to 24/7, and it's not difficult to use. You don't have to strain, you don't have to spend money or buy it, or it's just there, built in. So use that. Use your breath every time you're getting stressed, every time you feel like the storm is just a little fucking too crazy. Use your breath to stabilize yourself, to ground yourself, to bring yourself back to center. So as you attune to this healing alchemy of disillusion, allow yourself to soften the hard, resistant edges that you have developed as protection against a relentless, overwhelming world. And I know many feel that way. And I talked about that shell earlier, how that needs to be dissolved now. We need to allow ourselves to bust through that shell and break it open. And this is what challenges often do for us, is they break us open to such a degree, it breaks our heart open to such a degree that the light can finally enter. Because humans have a tendency to put up walls immediately as soon as they experience something that is uncomfortable, something that is traumatic, something that is perceived as a negative or difficult emotion. Be kind to the chaotic parts of yourself, okay? Be kind to yourself in all forms right now. Go extra with the self-care. Really focus on how you can comfort yourself and what you need in every given moment as you move through this chaotic time of shedding the old parts of yourself, as the new parts of yourself emerge. Refuse to take things personally at this time. Take nothing personally at this time. Remember, everyone always operates from the level of consciousness that they are at. I'll probably say this a million more times and keep reminding people. Because once I understood this was such a turning point in my life. Once I understood this, I really was able to shift out of, blaming other people. The whole blame game stopped for me in that moment. And everyone that I ever blamed in my past for hurting me were off the hook. And it doesn't mean that I'm condoning or that I'm okay with, the boundaries that were crossed or how they treated me. Absolutely not. But it's so incredibly freeing for me. When I forgive someone, I forgive them because it's freeing for me. It allows me to feel unburdened. And it also allows me to see that other person from this perspective of growth, like we're all on a journey of growth. And just because somebody is like way more immature and less grown than perhaps where I'm at, it doesn't mean that I need to hate on them. It doesn't mean that I need to condemn them, right? So having compassion is going to be very, very helpful. Don't take things personally and have compassion for other people's shortcomings. This new moon is also asking you to take off those pretty rose-colored glasses. Free yourself, okay, from false and limiting beliefs, illusions, and then dream up a new alternative, a new way of being, a new beginning. It's about seeing things from a whole different perspective. That's a big part of my work, actually, and that's what I do, is I shift perspectives for people. And when we have an intimate conversation, they begin to see everything from a whole different perspective for their situation. And that in itself becomes freeing. When I work with people, I'm working with their soul, with their heart. That is what I'm tapping into primarily. And that's why I'm able to get very clear messages, psychic messages and downloads for individuals, because I'm fully tapped into their heart and into their soul's mission and into their soul's vibration, which allows me to see what lessons they have to learn. It allows me to see what they're missing, because I'm always zoomed out. I always have this like zoomed out perspective when I'm working with clients. So they get to see like the bigger picture and how all the puzzle pieces fit together and why certain things needed to play out in the way that they did. And that in itself is like really healing for a lot of people. If you're interested in booking a one-on-one session with me, check out the description box. There will be a link there for that as well. Now, pay attention to your dreams. Write them down. I always say to people, have a dream journal if you can. If you remember, especially if you remember like specific details, especially if the dream was really like vivid and like felt super real, definitely make a note of it, write those dreams down. And also go back and actually read through your journal. When was the last time you did that? For any of those, that journal, I highly recommend that you go through. I was just doing this the other day, and it was so interesting. There was so much insight that I got from going back and reading my journal entries, reading dreams that I had, recognizing how some of those dreams were like super prophetic, and just like lessons I've learned, parts of myself that I've discovered through, reading my past journal entries. Like there's such a wealth of information in the journals. So go back and read previous entries and see what comes through. See what you notice, what you recognize. It actually really shows your growth too, how much you've grown. And keep in mind too that your dreams are your subconscious basically communicating to you, right? And this is why it's important to write down those dreams because that you remember, because most people on average can't just tap into their subconscious mind. Not when you're conscious, not when you're awake. This is why dream state exists. And it reveals a ton of information about your subconscious, about what is in your subconscious, what beliefs you carry that are, locked in there, perhaps, that need revision or that need to be plucked at this time and reprogrammed. So definitely make time for meditation and for ritual this week, particularly, of course, around the new moon, throughout this weekend. But in general, just meditation is always a wonderful tool to keep yourself, like I said, centered and grounded while you are in the eye of the storm of transformation. And when we're wrapping up these like heavier, more difficult cycles, and for some people these cycles were quite long. For those of you, I would definitely recommend that you take extra good care of yourself and really, really start pouring into yourself when it comes to your self-care, because this really can take a lot out of you. So I mentioned earlier that we're all at this like karmic crossroads, meaning that I think we all have this sense within us now that we can't go back to the way that things used to be, but like the full rebirth hasn't happened yet either. So like I said, we're in this like void kind of period where it's a little bit challenging, and it can be very uncomfortable to stay in that void because you have to absolutely trust the unknown. And that can be very difficult for people who are like obsessed with controlling every aspect of their lives. It can be very challenging for people who just in general always like to be in control or always have this need to be in control. So what I would recommend here is tap into your creativity when you are in this unknown territory to help you sort of transition easier and really put all of your focus and your energy into creation projects, into anything that is creative at this time. And you might find that some days that creativity flows just endlessly and effortlessly for you, and then other days you're going to notice that you got nothing. There's no creativity, there's no flow, and it will challenge you, and in those moments when the creativity is not flowing, that is happening because that's just not what you need to be doing at that moment. So when creativity is not flowing, that is the time to tap in, tune into yourself, do a meditation, and be like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to be doing? What would be better for me to be doing right now? Or where do I need to put my attention and focus so that I don't feel so lost or so weird or so off or so hard on myself, maybe because I'm not able to create, right? Because maybe in that moment, what you need is like a salt bath or just sit and read a book. And perhaps some spark of creativity will actually come from something you read in a book, or will actually come from your relaxed mind as you're in the bath. See, people underestimate these like relaxation techniques. They think like, oh, what a waste of time, or oh, I just feel like I'm lazy. You're absolutely not lazy. You're allowing. If you're doing it in a self-care type of way, that means that you are in the process of allowing for creative ideas to come through, allowing for new, fresh ideas to come through, allowing yourself just to be in the moment, not always do. So when creativity doesn't flow, it's not flowing because you are meant to be in that moment, not do. Okay, keep that in mind. When this happens or when this arises within you, this is also the universe's way of guiding you to like just marinate in the now. Can you just be in the now? Like really submerge yourself into the now. And I'm saying submerge because I'm seeing the water again. I'm reminded of this like Neptune and then Cancer and the moon being in Cancer and like all of this water. It's like submerge yourself into the now and allow yourself to deepen into the now and be in it and sit in it. Because in the now, I don't need to think about the unknown. In the now, I am not distracted by the unknown.